And I think what makes it interesting to me, from my point of view, is WEX training group, part of WEX Gunworks. That store has been at the forefront of a lot of stories about guns. I mean, it's a very media friendly store down there. Brandon's given comment on a number of my stories, but in a lot of media stories, it's sort of one of the most high profile members of the gun retailer community. And what you're coming to do with him is really interesting to me from the standpoint of, obviously what you're talking about here with schools and training, people who are not first responders, but who could perform life-saving, actions in emergency situations such as Parkland. That's super important, but also just the side of it with people carrying guns. I mean, I carry a gun. Millions of people in the country carry a gun, and you do it in the rare chance that there may be a life or death circumstance that you run into in your daily life. And so you get a gun and you get training to use the gun so that you can defend yourself or someone else in that kind of circumstance. But it seems to me that we often overlook the other half of that equation, because if you're preparing to get into a deadly force encounter, right? If that's part of your calculation for how you live your life, you really ought to plan and prepare for the other half of that, which is medical response to some sort of life-threatening situation. I mean, obviously, you're more likely to run into just an accidental life-threatening situation than you are probably a intentional situation where someone's trying to kill you. Like, there's far more accidents than there are, muggings or murders, and you should be prepared to deal with both, frankly. I mean, it's just, to me, the logic oftentimes misses out on that other half of things. Like, you got to take into account what you're going to do if you get shot, right? Not just if somebody is threatening you or shooting at you. Like, I agree. You should be prepared to carry a gun and to shoot back if necessary, or to defend yourself in those circumstances. But you should also be prepared to treat yourself or someone else who's near you in a circumstance like that, because you might have to. Agree. And that might be the difference between life or death in those situations. If you have a basic knowledge of how to apply a tourniquet, how to pack a wound, how to apply a chest seal, things like that. And those are the sorts of things, right, that your class is teaching people.
So, it was said best by really the backbone of this organization, Cherie DeRosa. She's been the one that's really pursued pushing this out. And what she says, I think, resonated with a lot of folks that have come to this course because of her. She says, "Why are you carrying a gun and not a tourniquet?" And it made a lot of folks think, and it really launched a lot of awareness. And the idea behind all of this is just to create that awareness and get at the top of a mountain and, have a platform to speak on so that everybody can understand the importance. Just like you were saying, there's another side. There's a flip side of that coin. So you've got a firearm and a threat's been eliminated, or the threat has now gotten away. But now what? We have an additional threat, and that threat lane is on aisle 6 at Kroger or Publix. There was just one, just a couple weeks ago, Stephen, up in a Kroger in Tennessee, I believe. So a gunman walked in and I don't know how many rounds he fired, but there was 12 injured. Okay, well, EMS is going to arrive. So one of the problems, so let's back this up and let's take a look at Parkland. And that can translate for everything. That's kind of the base model that I use, is that EMS or fire is, down here in Florida, fire and paramedic are one and the same. But a paramedic is not going to get onto the scene until that scene is clear. So your first responder is going to be law enforcement. Well, law enforcement's job is not to save the wounded. They do carry a tourniquet and they carry a couple of other small things in the car to treat themselves. But their job is to not come there and treat the wounded. Their job as law enforcement is to come to the scene, clear that area, and eliminate the threat. Well, the threat is going to be the gunman. Well, fire rescue, paramedics, they can't come to that scene until law enforcement has done their job and has eliminated the threat. So therein lies, 3 minutes before law enforcement arrives, and then another however long it takes for them to formulate a plan, go through, clear this objective, eliminate the threat, find out the threat's not even there in the Parkland situation. And now 10 minutes have elapsed. Now paramedics can get onto the scene. Well, let me tell you, in less than a minute, that is when exsanguination can occur. You've got 5 liters of blood in your body, on average, in the adult. When 40% of that blood loss is gone, your body goes in such a hypotensive state that your brain just hits that pause button. And that's it. It's lights out. And without having somebody that knows how to minimize or stop that bleeding on the objective, your time is very limited. You don't have the time to wait for the paramedics to get there and do their job. So that's why it's very imperative, like at that Kroger, you might not even have the firearm. Maybe you're just deciding not to carry that day. Maybe firearms aren't your thing. Okay, both sides of the aisle will never agree to arm teachers or that everyone needs to carry a gun. Most folks don't like carrying a gun. They don't feel comfortable. Okay, well, understandable, but that doesn't mean that everyone feels that way. And that doesn't mean that those that are out to do harm to you feel that way. Matter of fact, they feel the exact opposite. So you are now a soft target. You presenting yourself as a soft target, if you can't stop your own hemorrhaging, if you can't figure out how to prevent tension pneumothorax from developing with a chest seal, vented or non, then you just decreased your life expectancy in a traumatic situation. And it is upon you to take care of yourself, train your tribe, have everyone around you know what to do in emergency situations. And that's what sets us apart as a gun shop, is we don't just sell firearms. We sell firearms, we sell medical supplies, but we train. And that's one of the most important parts, is we train with folks that have been in this industry for a very long time. We've got one of the only female firearms instructors with Cherie in all of South Florida. And we're able to do all different types of basic, intermediate, advanced pistol, rifle, and incorporate medicine into all of that. So that's what really makes us unique from a lot of other gun industry shops.